Hello and welcome to my video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how I outline and prep my book series, how I write and plan and all the juicy stuff about my series. So I've been doing live streams now since the beginning of November. And that's the most common question I've been getting, how I outline my books, how I plan my series. Since I love planning, even though I've only published one book, three poetry books, and a couple of coloring books, I love outlining. I love planning. I love plotting. And as I'm finishing book 4 in my Forgotten Magic series, the first two books that will be coming out next year, 2021, I thought I would share with you my game plan, my how I or the basic rule structure on how I find that I need to plan my books. Even though my first book in my magic series is not technically speaking following the rule completely, these are the rules and the key points that I found worked for me. After I finished the book, I kind of roughed out everything that I knew that would work for me and works for me. And I've been plotting the last 4 books with this philosophy, or not a philosophy, just game plan. So I'm going to share with you how I build my book series, step by step, easy, clean, total plotter, vibey outline. And I'm just going to show you my screen. So let's jump right into this. So I made a file, especially just to give you guys a deeper in depth what I do. So this is my file. I write everything in Word, but Google on the Word, but you could use Google Docs in the same manner. Like you can see, doesn't do so you can see my arrow. So I create my navigational panel with just using headers. Like this is header 1, and then header 2 and all that LHS. But basically, excuse me. Oof. So typical. As soon as you start recording, your nose starts to itch. And we're not gonna edit this video. We're gonna keep on writing, keep on talking, and not hide the little things. So back to the main thing. So this is my file. This is the basic skeleton of how I plan my book. There's nothing book related in this book and in this file at the moment. Oh, okay. So I started making this. So I had the basic skeleton for this file just in my map, but when my lovely subscribers that have been sprinting with me during the whole Nano, asked me for a video about it, I decided to put it up in an easy, I could share manner. So every time I start a new project, because I have a few and I've been playing around with world building a lot for some time now, even though I haven't wanted to finish and publish because of just I was very insecure at the time. We're finally over that and willing to just get everything out and start finishing books like crazy. Like I said, I finished 3.5 so far. So I always start with a basic plot idea. I give myself an idea. I note it down every time I start a new book. I note it down. Like here, I just write basic information down, basic block, primary storyline with plot. I always start with this one and build from that. It gives me a clear building block of the basic idea behind everything. The basic block, all the basic stuff. So This girl is discovering a new world, da 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 da, and discovers she has maybe mysterious heritage that, or some heritage that doesn't add up, or something. Like, just take your basic plot line. This is where you would put that. Also, when I, because this is a series, because this is my skeleton for writing series, I always try to, at least I do, and I know most writers do that write series. You have the base plot line, that thing that will follow with every book, the obvious, kind of obvious one, not so obvious, kind of obvious, and then I have the underplot. So I have, when I'm writing books, writing my stories, each book has their own kind of plot line, and to keep you engaged with that book. And there's also the underplot. The underplot will follow you through the whole series, involving, give you more and more information, and involving, I think that's the right word, involving more and more information, while you puzzle together all the pieces. And that is what this is. Basically, I write down the underplot, the base plot, the reason everything is happening the way it is happening. Other thing I started after my first book, so is a book blurb, and some write it after they finish the book, some write it in the beginning. I've started to discover with every book I write, I have to start doing this straight in the beginning, so I can, so when the book is done, it's more it has evolved with the book. And it's also just great practice. So for when people ask me what my book is about, I usually start describing, and depending on their reaction, my book blurb will evolve. So the more interested people get when I describe it, then I know my description is getting in the right, heading the right direction. So yeah. So I think book blurbs are essential. Everybody knows that writes, but starting evolving them early, just to both practice telling people about your story, and also just when you're done, because after, when I finished my first book, I didn't put much emphasis on this point. I didn't. I just didn't. I'll do that in the end. But when the book was finished the first time, I had a major issues kind of wrapping my head, how am I supposed to write a blurb in a short description and dense it down to a little easy peasy, instead of just evolving it with the story as I wrote. So yeah. So if I could give you any recommendation about book blurbs, I would just start evolving them straight away. It's just easier, by practicing and just seeing what works. You can work out all the glitches. So when your book is finally done and ready, you don't have to think about the headache that is a book blurb. And talking about your book will become much more natural. So yeah. Okay. Book world. So for example, the book world that I'm writing about now is mostly based in our modern time, but there is a twist. It's the not human realm and the magical realm within this universe, within this world. So for this series I'm working on now, I didn't have to do much world building, kind of. I had to build up the magical aspect of the other side. So when you're building, let's say if you're building something on reality, it's a faster build rather than building from scratch. If you're building from scratch, I have kind of my go-to list, my questions I ask myself when I'm building my world. For the series will be working on for the next book. About the next book, Stephen. That's the next books. I'm sorry, guys. So as this series that I'm finishing now, the Forgotten Magic series, I did this list, but not as in depth and as my other series that I'm working on. That won't be out nearly yet. 2021 will be the year I basically dive into this. For all the little worlds I have created, this is the thing I usually ask myself and fill out. What kind of world is this? What kind of world is your world? What kind of environment are there in your world? So just the basic questions. What's your magical system? What are the rules? What kind of residents are in your world? How are the politics? Because you never know when that will come into play. Religion, what kind of, if so? Are there any wars at the moment? Have they been? With whom and why? Why is origin? Friends, enemies, food, common diet in your world. I know that's a random thing but for some reason I like knowing everything. Typical types of residents in your world, all humanoid with typical animals, just like you have now, magical creatures, cyborgs, just you name it. Doesn't matter, just you name it. Whatever floats your boat. Laws and how it's enforced, mythology, history that might be mentioned in the story or book series. All these questions I will answer. But in the book series themselves, I won't probably won't even use maybe. I will probably use maybe 5 or 10% of this information. Just the fact I like having all the information for the simple reason that if I do mention any of this, I have a reference that I can always go back to make sure I always have the same information. It's always identical. I don't miss information. I don't mix the information if I repeat the same information twice. And like Ted, Ted's green hair, but in book four, I might Ted's blue hair. Stuff like that might get past me, but it won't if I have everything written down. So that it's the reason I go overboard on detail. And I am also a freaking sucker for world building. The more iron tight my world is and more planned, the safer kind of I am and more secure when creating the world. I also feel like the more iron tight your book world is, the more kind of options you have. You can take it in so many directions. And especially if you write one series and you maybe write another series that happens in the same world, you have all the information and you're not going to go all overboard or not maybe or mix match information or make errors that you would have avoided if you just had a game plan and it all written down. I remember it's kind of this idea of being overly planned with my world and written down. It kind of came by listening to an interview with George R. R. Martin, Games of Thrones author, that his book is so gigantic and he doesn't remember all the information that he has his two helpers, the helpers, not helpers. It sounds like Santa Claus and his elves. Um, for some reason, I forgot the name. Anyways, he has two very important people. Last time I checked, just two that make sure everything checks out. I'm not gonna hire two people to help make sure that happens, so I have a file. But this makes sure that my facts are always right between books, that nothing goes mismatched. If you catch my drift. Next point, when my world is iron tight and everything's perfect, I actually might do this before the world building. Depends on what's important at the moment. Character profiles. I make intense character profiles. I will always start with the main characters. I will go as deep as I can go. I will make the deeper I go into the story, I will add their plot and their the plot, the basic instinct, the basic thought process, all the major information I will add to their character profiles just to make it easier for me to follow along as they evolve and change with the book series. Just makes it easier when you have to go back and okay, you know, he was this blonde there, then he colored his hair, and now is has a red head or something like that. Also, just friends, foes, all the juicy information. Also, with side characters, I will do similarly to the side characters. If they have any connection to main characters, other side characters, if they appear in any books, which book they appear in, what scene, um, all information I might need to go back later if they meet again. Let's say 2 books down, they meet again. My character can then say, "Oh yeah, I remember I met you in this town doing this." Do, 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 do. I have it then everything in their character profiles, and I'm sure and make sure everything then is right on target because my memory doesn't go that far. Not always. And it's better to have it written down and have everything organized where you don't have to worry. Hope I'm not talking too fast. If so, just slow me down. I don't know what I was thinking doing this recording right after a 3-hour live stream. Yes, I am recording this after a 3-hour live stream. But let's get back to business. So, when all my basic information is done, I've compact the world. I know everything about the world. I know what the storyline is, the underplot. I know all the juicy parts. So since I know all the juicy parts and everything's iron tight for the series, I can start on the walkthrough. So I do my walkthroughs in 2 ways. Walkthroughs because I fast draft. I like and I try to write. I'm especially now for the last year and a half. I've been trying to write faster and getting more organized so I can get when I start writing and editing that I can get the books out to editors faster. And that this is my game plan. With years of trying this and that, this is the stuff that seems to be working for me. After 3 books and now fourth, this has been helping me get by way faster. But I am a planner through and through. If you're not, this will probably not work for you. But if you're a planner and a new planner of that, this actually might help. But I do my walkthroughs in 2 stages. I do the short version where I just maybe the book is 1 or 2 pages, 3 pages where I just walk through this happens very roughly what is going to happen. And that is just me telling myself very fast what is going to go happen in the story. And it usually tells me right away if I have to add in details, if the story has enough momentum to keep on going, to keep the reader hooked or keep me excited to read my own book. By it saves me a lot of time and making it so that I can see the major plot holes if there are any. So I can add that in. And the short walkthrough is fast. I'm very fast at doing short walkthroughs. And you see very quickly if your plot is not going to work through that. It's also very helpful when you're writing many books, having a short walkthrough and you need to find something in your book, but you don't remember which book that special scene you're looking for was. You can just go through your short walkthroughs, just read through that, and you'll be 10 times faster than trying to sift through the whole book you just wrote maybe 2 years ago. So having that makes it much more faster for me, easier to find information of my previous books when I'm writing maybe another book in the series. So when that short walkthrough is done and I'm satisfied, I will do a full in detail walkthrough. My walkthroughs usually, especially I found I did that for the book I did for Nano. I did a full detailed walkthrough of the whole book. And I wrote that book in 15 days because I just had it that well planned that I kind of just didn't need to think. I just had to write the book, the dialogue, information, basic description. Even skipped a lot of descriptions that I have to add in when I start drafting and draft editing. But I add everything, so not every walkthrough here. And I cut my book up to 3 parts, and as you can see here. So each part I cut into 3 parts. It's basically just this is my game plan to keep people excited. So I will start by introductions, building up the story, allowing you to introduce you to the character, the scenario, and the beginning. It's just the basic. This is the first, like for my books, for the series I'm working on now, they're usually about 50K fast draft. The final draft is usually about 70 up to 80K at the moment for the last few books. So I'm usually aiming for 50K for the fast draft, where I skip a lot of like details and descriptions. And that means that each part is usually about 17, 18K for me to reach that goal. So I will cut my book on each part, each 18K up to those 3 parts, and use this guideline as you see here, building the guideline and more, build up the story. Part 2, find hint to plot. Start hinting into plot what's the basic theme of the story will be. Starting to build up minor excitement, giving a little start to the pace. So people can feel the small build up. The journey, starting the journey, collecting information, getting information, keeping on building up the speed. Part 2, I will start giving clues and really start to heat up the traffic, the speed of the book. Giving something up that will make the reader excited, really want to keep on reading. The middle part of the book, part 5, point 5 in part 2, speed increase and relevant information that helps build up atmosphere, and the fake high point. Usually, many books I've read over the past, you have a high, the high point in the middle of the book. But I kind of like, for my sake, my personal preference, to have a high point in the middle of the book and a little in the last third of the book. I like it. It's something I prefer, and this the reason I'm aim to do so. So I try to have a kind of fake high point in part 2, in the middle of part 2. And then in the end of part 2, I will increase the speed. When you think it's about to slow down, give you a fake sense of slowing down, and then give you a speed decrease and sense of urgency, if the book allows. Part 3, high point, real shocker. Part number 8, new information, the aha moment. Aha! And if I don't get the aha moment myself, I don't expect my readers to do either. So if I can't shock myself or get myself excited about that aha moment, it's not worth it. Just simple as that. 9, and the final part of part 3, I start tidying up loose ends, answering questions. After my first book, I learned a lot from my first book. So, and the tips I learned from my first book, the comments I got, and also just reading more books over the years, that tying up enough new loose ends to satisfy your reader, also myself, but still leave a little bit for the next book, or leave questions that the reader doesn't know yet that they want to ask. So Like, especially with dedicated writers, people that invest themselves in series. I love when I have a question that I didn't know I have that was answered the question that was technically speaking in the first book, and I find the answer in the second book, and I'm like, oh, that is why that was. Oh, that kind of thing. So I start tidying up loose ends, make sure there are little breadcrumbs for the to build up excitement for the next book. And if I won't have a major cliffhanger. I try not, I don't want to have cliffhangers that are cliffhangers that will make you want to throw your book at me. I will not do that to you. Or I will try not to do that to you. I personally, I kind of like cliffhangers as long as they're not too much. I like the excitement, especially if you plan to release books fast or not make the reader wait too long. But me personally, I like little cliffhangers. Something will make me excited to write and read the next book. If you answer most of my questions, but you're still leaving me with something to want, I will read your book. Simple as that. But that is just me. Don't know what you will, but I will. So yeah, that makes me very happy. I want to be excited for the next book. I want all my questions answered, but I still want that little extra oomph that will make me want to wait for your book. If you don't give me something to want, something to tempt me to wait for your book, I won't. Simple as that. Also, no, not also. So that is basically how I plan my book series. One of my favorite tips I usually do when I am building worlds. I've done this with all the stories I've written and just planned in my folder. Hopefully many that I will finish in the future. And you're welcome. The presence of the almighty Pookie, my fur baby that makes a regular appearance in my live streams and loves to get attention as soon as he sees the camera on. He's been awfully nice though. So, one of the things I love doing when I am world building is collecting photographs, artwork that reminds me and helps me build up the image of my world and the places in my world. These are usually just for my eyes only, and but I do like since that's except for this besides all the work I will never show anybody that or share with anybody that I used to get inspired from. I get them all over, but I also like attempting to create my own fan art or my own art for my books. Sorry, excuse me. Forcing you to stay down. So I collect artwork, photographs. I try to get as much visual information as I can when building my world. Just it's easier, especially when you start working on um, art for your book, especially if you're going to illustrate or get somebody to illustrate your book for you. Either if you do it yourself or somebody else, to have references, visual references, and written down references, it helps a lot. Especially, let's say you work on this book and then you just put it in, cool it down, and let it cool down somewhere in a folder, and decide to write it maybe a year later or a couple of years later. You have both written down descriptions and you have visual stimulation to help boost up your what is the thought process to get you back into the point you were when you were writing the book. So I like having visual inspiration, and I'm also always trying to get better at writing them. No, not writing them, painting them. as I am an artist and I'm always trying to evolve. So hopefully one day I will make sure and will paint all my artwork myself. At the moment, I'm still practicing, but I'm getting there. So yeah, that is basically how I write books. That is how I'm building my series. My strategy is always evolving. At the moment, this is a strategy I'm basically mostly using this on my current series. And this is my game plan for my new series that I will be start outlining and drafting. No, at least outlining next year while I finish editing this series I'm working at the moment. So basically, I will edit through all next year my Forgotten Magic series. That will be the first book coming out next year. Hopefully, I'm aiming to publish 2 books next year. And as I finish editing that series, I'm going to be starting outlining the 10-book series that I actually started when I was 14. And that is a series I've been building, the world I've been building for a very long time. And I'm going to do a complete overhaul of that book series, reorganize everything, go every single note, and it's a lot, and just rebuild the world to be more iron tight than it was when I was 14. And over the years, it has been evolving. So this is my game plan and what I'm plan to do. And I'm pretty optimistic. I think this is a game plan that will work. I'm very excited to see how well it will work. So yeah, very interesting. Hope you guys found this somewhat useful. Hope I didn't talk your ears off or talk too fast, because I do that. I can't help it. But yeah, I find this very exciting. I find this fun. Outlining and planning and plotting and just building world building and just building the history and mythologies and all that extra stuff that the reader might not know, but you never know. Then you have yourself ready. It brings me so much joy. Just makes me so happy. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I please urge you and hope you do that you do subscribe, like, and follow all the things. Do all the things. So thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched to the end. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think. If you have a video request, leave it in the comments below. I will have a link to this, the blog post with all this information in the link below. I will try to have a download of this file in the link below, on my website. If you're interested in using this as a guideline to build up your book world. And yeah, stay awesome, do you, and keep on writing. Because remember, you are awesome, and you are still winning, and you're still making great freaking progress as long as you don't stop. Just remember, there's no reason to doubt yourself. If you love what you do, it's worth it. Simple as that. You're writing foremost for yourself, second, readers. Even though I want people to love my books, I first have to love my book before readers can. Your joy is what is important. So keep on writing, don't give up, and just stay true. See you later, guys. And thank you so much for watching my video. Bye.